Welcome back to Rogers Gardens. I'm Alison Whiteman, Floral Designer. We're here in the Garden Room's floral counter to create our Christmas arrangement. The tools we will be using today: clippers, wire cutters, a floral knife, some strippers, chicken wire, we've got our watering can, and today our compote container. You will also need a lighter and a small votive candle. My inspiration behind this arrangement is the warm feelings of Christmas. So I chose lots of warm red tones and some softer, more dusty tones. So I have privet berry, red spray roses, a coffee colored rose called cappuccino, some brunia berry, some dusty colored safari sunset, leucadendron, and then ilex berry, along with Christmas greens. Not to be forgotten in today's floral piece will be Rex begonia leaves, ranunculus, and red anemones. I will also be showing you how to incorporate broken pieces of a poinsettia plant into your arrangement so that nothing goes to waste. To create the grid for today's piece, we have some chicken wire, which you can find at a regular hardware store. Cut it into about like a rectangle size piece. And what I'm going to do is slightly bend the edges, and we're going to kind of tuck it down in here, make almost like a pillow, kind of popped up in there, and that's going to be the grid for the flowers that we place in today. Make sure that you push it down in so that the wire takes on the shape of the container, and that way the grid won't float up with the water. What we're going to do is start with all of the different Christmas greenery, and we're just going to fill in the piece. It'll create a nice lush look. The Christmas greens smell amazing, and it'll also give sort of like a wispy look. I'm taking off as many of the greens as I can so that I can really get a smooth poke in through that gridding. Make sure you're using the whole piece. This piece has a lot of different branches, so I can cut it several different times. Make sure you're giving clean cuts as to everything that's going into the water. Now that we have a solid green base, we're going to start adding some of the flowers. The first thing is the leucadendron. So we're going to leave this kind of bunchy. It has a lot of different pieces. We might break off some of them and put them around, but we're going to keep a big piece like this so it takes up a lot of space, and it'll act as a natural grid for some of the smaller, daintier flowers that we're going to put in later. This larger piece, I'm going to kind of stick out back this way. We're going to leave this one higher so that it starts to trend through the arrangement, and then we'll put this one, we'll cut these off right here. Again, stripping them off, and we'll stick them right in the middle. The next flower we're using is a brunia berry. What I like about this is it sort of has some different textures. It has this nice hard texture up top, and then it gets kind of fuzzy towards the bottom, which makes for a really useful piece because you can use the whole thing. So now I'm going to take the shorter piece with the berries, kind of tuck that here. We're going to use this as kind of a resting space for some of the daintier flowers. And then this more wispy piece we're going to use to kind of continue this trend outward and up, and stick that over here. And I have a couple more pieces that we're going to do that with. Again, make sure you're not neglecting the back side of the arrangement. So we're going to take a couple of these pieces here and include them in the back. Again, I'm really cutting down my pieces so that I can use the whole stem. Next, we're going to layer in some color. We have some red spray roses, nice clean cut on the bottom. We're going to layer these in here. What's nice about the spray roses is they provide a larger footprint than just one solid red rose. We're going to kind of tuck them in here in between the berries. Next, we're going to use these pretty blushy, chocolatey cappuccino roses. And we're going to cluster these. Have some guard petals on the outside. Sometimes they're really pretty and are nice to leave on. Other times they look kind of junky. Feel free to take them off. Again, and any imperfect petals, always good to take off as well. Any thorns, cut off. I'm going to kind of make like a little triangle pattern here. A little setup of 3, 1 deeper in, and then 2 more coming out. A popular holiday gift is a poinsettia plant. If one bract happens to break, you can put them in your flower arrangement. They do kind of have like some sap that comes out of the stem, so you can't just stick it right in or it'll compromise the arrangement. So what we suggest, giving it a fresh, clean cut, You can kind of sear the ends, so it seals that sap inside. You kind of want to do it, it'll start to sort of bubble. And then you take some candle wax, dip it in the end, wait for it to dry, and then you can include it in your arrangement. And it should last about the same length as all the other flowers in the piece. Next, we're going to add some red anemones. Sometimes when you get them from the flower market, they come in really tight. So I put these next to a heat source and they opened up real nice and big. What I really like about these is they always have some crazy curves going on. What's nice is you can sort of allow them to go whichever direction they want to go, and it'll add a nice organic feel to your piece. Continuing on with our warm red holiday feel, we're going to do some clusters of ranunculus. Because the ranunculus, they're kind of small, again, we are going to cluster them so it makes a bigger impact. We're going to do two groupings. One's going to be a taller grouping up here, and then we're going to do a grouping kind of jutting out over here. So in order to place these, I like to kind of cluster them in my hand first and sort of decide how I want them. I'm going to kind of make them in a pattern like this. There's one a little taller, the heavier one a little lower, and give those all a fresh cut. And then I can slide them all in together. Now that there's so much greenery in here, it is kind of hard to get a good smooth line in there. Those look good there. One of the last things we're going to include are these Rex begonia leaves. I really like them because they kind of have a two-tone on the back, so have like a more shiny, silvery look on the front. They also have this darker burgundy in the back. So we're just gonna tuck these in underneath. We're going to include some of this blue privet berry, and again, that's going to pull from the Rex begonia leaf, and it's also going to pull from the inside of the anemone. It's going to add another berry texture, so we're just going to kind of put some chunks of that throughout. Get rid of those leaves. We'll tuck a little in here. We're going to include some pomegranates on the vine here. I'm going to tuck those down in. And I really like it if they hang. Kind of put this one, try to use a more inner piece of the grid so that it hangs at a different level. The final piece will be an ilex berry stem. I'm gonna stripped off all the other little pieces on the side. Gonna kind of tuck this down there. I've already sort of made a space for it to go in there because it is a larger branch. I'm gonna leave it kind of nice and tall there. I have taken some of the smaller pieces and included them down on the side so that this berry color trends throughout the whole piece. Our Christmas compo today is filled with that warm holiday cheer. We have the white poinsettias, the red ranunculus, red anemones, our cappuccino roses, and all the berry texture. It's really great for those warm and fuzzy holiday feelings. We hope you join us here at Rogers Gardens.